the most important topic in WikiLeaks that nobody's talking about is how we finally know what's going on with Pizzagate. Yeah, not quite. I just wanted to throw it out there. I think Pizzagate's kind of a funny thing. I don't know if it's true, but the Julian Assange issue, the WikiLeaks issue, is that everybody wants to talk about, unless you're a real fan of his, or if you're somebody who actually reads what he's talking about. Everybody's talking about whether he's a good person or a bad person. I'm talking about both liberals and conservatives. I've heard, I don't listen to him that often anymore. This host here in Ohio, Rover, he's said before, oh, this isn't necessarily good. This person could one day reveal things that would actually endanger our national security. And then on the other hand, you have Mark Levin, I believe. No, not Mark Levin. It was, I think it was Michael Medved and Hugh Hewitt, these conservative talk show hosts, as opposed to Rover, who's sort of a liberal. They're also saying the same thing. And what they're missing is that this isn't an issue of whether Julian Assange is good or bad. It's the same thing that I was talking about a while back about whether Donald Trump is good or bad. The point is, what's the best outcome? Who's doing the best job for furthering our cause of having a country that's more successful, more secure, and more free and unencumbered by dictatorship? That came out a little garbled. Which leader, which activist is going to give us a society that's more open and more prosperous? That's the real question. Okay. And I'm watching this Jimmy Dore guy, who's kind of a real dickhead, but he makes some good points about the Democrats, and their problem is that they don't have a message, and that's the difference between them and Julian Assange. Because I was watching Julian Assange's bizarre press conference today. I watched it after work today, and I thought it was first of all, it's a very interesting one. He goes and talks directly about what the problem is with this technology. The most important line I heard him say was that a cyber weapon is a weapon that can't be uninvented. It's a weapon that can't be disarmed. Once you've created it, and it must be used, and it must be brought to it must be used against an intended target. That's basically what he said. And I kind of marvel sometimes that people want to talk about whether he's a good person or a bad person. It really doesn't matter to me. Julian Assange, his agenda, so far as I can see, okay, I'm not saying he doesn't have a hidden agenda, but who doesn't have a hidden agenda? But his revealed agenda is the following. He wants to make the world a transparent place where the average person is able to see the workings of their government or of the world government, if we have one, and be able to make a distinction between the truth and the lies that are fed to him or her, or whatever other pronoun there is. And this is a real simple message that people just don't want to digest. They want to. This is the difference between free-thinking people and people that just won't leave the box. That they're stuck in the box and they just want to stop thinking. Okay, the people in the box, they'll listen to some idiot like Chris Cuomo or Sally Cohn or Rachel Maddow, or even what's that guy's name, Shepard Smith on Fox News. They'll listen to these idiots rave like morons. And they're supposed to be newscasters, and they'll consider that the truth, because to them, these emotional wrecks, these complete pawns of the media, that's the way they behave in their own life. That's the way that's the example that they've been given. Whereas if you watch this Julian Assange press conference, you can see from the content, which is spot on. It's all about it's just about how the CIA has the tools, and it centralized the tools in one area, in one basically one file server, and that's one of the worst mistakes they could make, because it was so easy to hack in there, and there was so much in there to take. And that was such an easy point to make, and he made it with such little. If you watch Julian Assange, he's just talking as if he's talking to somebody who's about 3 feet away from him, and that's something that the media people, the mainstream media people at least, they can't do anymore. They've forgotten how to talk like a normal person. It's almost like the less emotional you sound, the more you're really getting across. This is like a real counterculture. And I'm not saying this because I'm a huge Julian Assange fan. I don't really have an opinion either way. Some of the things maybe I don't really like that he does, but the real point is that this is somebody. I mean, I hate to analogize everything to him just like everybody else does, but the commonality between Trump and Julian Assange is very simple. That Donald Trump, he's straight into whatever it is he's doing. All this Twitter stuff is a bunch of distraction. Really, you see him going and attacking like an eagle sometimes these issues, like Obamacare. He's doing the same thing with the immigration issue. He's doing the same thing with the wall. He's doing the same thing with the jobs and meeting with corporate leaders. You can't, whether you like the outcome or not, this is somebody who's goal oriented. He's just going straight for the brass ring. He's trying to find a hole in the defensive line and take it all the way to the end zone. It's real simple shit. It's real simple. You don't even have to. That's the difference between him and some of these other politicians that really just posture. Like Paul Ryan, this guy who's got to jump through hoops and use semantics to explain everything that he's doing. The same thing with Julian Assange. He's not trying to make a story that works on people's feelings. He's trying to actually reveal the information that shows you how our technology is being used against potentially even the private citizen, but more importantly against people that endanger the interests of the powerful intelligence community. That's the point of Julian Assange. It's none of the the Pizzagate stuff I brought up as a joke. If that were to be revealed to be true, yeah, that's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing if that were to be revealed as true. And I don't know what to tell you. I'm not somebody who digs through people's garbage or whatever. Trying to find out if they're into some sort of weird pizza parties. I watched the David Seaman series. That's an interesting series. Okay, I grant that, but you do have to bring at a certain level, material proof of what you're talking about, and that's what Julian Assange does. And you can call it harmful, and you can call it destructive, and you can call it, incendiary. And sensational sometimes, but it really is not. It's sort of like somebody who's just straight up giving the facts. I'll give you another analogy. I've mentioned him a couple of times. The supervisor that I had at my last job, the one I just left. This guy was he's straight up the same way. It's the same. I think a lot of people relate to Trump because they want to behave the same way as he does, and they do behave the same way he does in their real life. This is a guy not really formally educated, but has an amazing mechanical inclination. He's mechanically inclined, and therefore he's able to design devices. He's able to design solutions and critically analyze systems in ways that a person who's had 2 or 3 degrees, I actually have 2 degrees, we can't do it. And he once told me, there's technical writers that he's met, that the first word out of their mouth is PhD, that they have a PhD, whatever, I have a PhD and everything. And he told me, these people with a PhD, that's sometimes the best contribution they can make. They don't have anything else to offer. their PhD is literally the highlight of everything that they do, because otherwise they're actually devoid of any real input into whatever project you're doing. Um, that's the sense that I get from today's political elite. You have a lot of people with great qualifications. You had, I'll give you an example. Ash Carter, the Secretary of Defense under President Obama, he was, I believe, he was a physicist from MIT. I'll have to go back and check, but he was a physicist. This guy is very accomplished. They appoint him Secretary of Defense. Probably has one of the least impressive tenures as Secretary of Defense. It's not so much that he did things that were bad. It's that this is somebody who was supposed to be so amazing and bring such a different perspective. And really, what did we get? We didn't really get anything groundbreaking from the Defense Department under him. We actually have a military that's in quite bad shape, if you don't mind me saying. I hear it all the time from people I know that are in the military or that were in the military during the Obama administration. It's not something that I can literally put in like with a bar graph or anything and show you levels of success or failure. But we do know that sexual assault's grown exponentially in the Army and I think in the Marine, I think in the Air Force. Generally in the military, there's a huge sexual assault problem. What did Obama's Defense Department do to address that? Nothing. We have who else did we have? We had Eric Holder, who was our Attorney General, who refused to testify before Congress. He was held in contempt of Congress. There's a person who's supposed to be upholding the laws of our Constitution, and he refuses to comply with the law himself. Once you're subpoenaed by Congress, you are required to appear there. He didn't do it. Did anything happen to him? No. You have this is the real problem, that we have people that they have titles and they have accolades and they have awards and they have Yelp ratings or whatever it is, and they think that this is what grants them the legitimacy to give opinions on topics that they really haven't done any sort of in-depth research on. And that's why I'm talking about it in the context of Assange. Look, I don't care if Assange is a good or bad person. I think personally he just has a goal. His goal may be misguided if you think of it that way, but he's pursuing it with almost laser-like commitment. How can you not admire it? Now, I don't think that we should go overboard and say, well, everything should be funneled through Julian Assange in order to figure out what's good and what's bad. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that this is a person who he uses his organization as a way to diffuse the knowledge that he thinks that people need to know in order to help themselves in their daily lives. He's not really getting rich off of this. His life's actually been made miserable by it. Now, we'll see what happens with him in the future. I think that it would be better for the Trump administration, not necessarily to share everything with him, but at least to, give him, interact and say, look, we're going to work harder to be transparent and give people a better, not try to hide things that are actually harming the consumer, harming the citizen, harming the average person on the street. Would Assange be more charitable? Would the Trump administration even embrace that? I don't know. I think the Trump and Assange, I said that they're similar. I'm not going to say that they're going to be friends. Just like Trump himself, he says, I don't know if I'm going to get along with Russia. The issue is that what's the best outcome? The best outcome is that the President of the United States and the entire government, they act in a way that you're not going to lead to such embarrassing revelations. The CIA has become an embarrassment. It's become a disgrace based on their behavior in the past few years. We had these idiots coming out of the agency, and they're claiming that they're former agents. It doesn't work that way. Everybody is aware that once you're in the CIA, you have a certain a loyalty that you have to maintain to it after you leave. George Bush Sr. was a major CIA. He was the head of the CIA, in fact. He became president of the United States. Do you want to make believe in your mind that Bush Sr. didn't act in the interest of the CIA as president? The interest of the CIA, not the USA, the CIA. You want to talk about this Evan McMonkey, this idiot that he suddenly falls out of the fucking sky and says, I'm going to be president, I'm going to run against Trump on a conservative platform. What conservative platform? He never talked about it. The only thing he talked about was Donald Trump. Opposing Donald Trump is not a conservative platform. Okay? If you had been a real candidate, you would have appeared during the primaries. You would have appeared during a time when people should have really paid attention to you. Instead of bringing your bald Dr. Evil-like head out of the fucking shadows and pretending that somebody should listen to you, Evan McMonkey. And most people, this is a testament, a lot of people are going to maybe view this video, they're going to be like, who's this Evan McMonkey guy? It's a testament to the fact that he was such a failure, such a transparent idiot, with no public base, that's the question people are going to ask. Who's this Evan McMonkey? Evan McMullen. His name is Evan McMullen, but I call him McMonkey. He's really just a toy, a little extended pet of the CIA and Mitt Romney and all these establishment Republicans. That's the problem. They think in their minds, oh, I'm the smart guy. I don't have to listen to the truth, or I don't have to tell the truth. I can just make things up and give people the impression that because I have the credentials, that makes me more qualified, and I'm going to be the person who has all the answers, even if I really don't. It's the same thing with this Malcolm Nance, this Democrat from the CIA. This guy was going on Bill Maher. He gets into a fight with Milo Yiannopoulos. Okay, so tries to say, oh, because I've been to Port Said and all that, I've been throughout the Middle East, I have more of a right to talk about things than you do. Well, if you have more of a right to talk about things than Milo Yiannopoulos, then why is it that you can't shed some light on all these things that have to do with, the WikiLeaks? You were in the CIA. What do you have to say now? You've been all over the world, and suddenly your entire agency just gets revealed for being not taking care of our interests around the world, but using our technology against us, or using our technology in ways that can compromise the freedom of average citizens. Now come and explain to us. This has nothing to do with Milo. It has to do with you, the CIA, behaving like the pigs that they've always been. These failures. The CIA, by the way, did not win the Cold War. We won the Cold War despite the CIA. Just so you know, everything they did was pretty much a disaster that we're still paying for. Afghanistan, Chile. What else did they do? They did that operation in Laos with the heroin and whatever. That's the CIA, and they should never ever ever convince you that they were the heroes of that era. That the CIA has always been the most corrupt arm of our intelligence community. The NSA is right behind them, but never ever believe them and eat their lies about national security. The CIA has to be abolished and replaced with something else, in my opinion. I don't think Trump will do it, but you can take it or leave it. And that's it. This is Ramon. It's bold like a leopard, and we'll see you around the bend.